Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to Long Coom. So I haven't done a live stream in a minute, mainly because I've just been so busy. I really wanted to, but haven't been able to. So the day candle actually is closing, and I mean it's 7 right now. There we go, just closed. And what are we opening with? We are current. Oh right, the size. Sorry, the size for this is really small. I had to. Oh, where was it? Insert indicator, time scale, price scale, left axis, auto scale. No, scale properties. I think it was. Background, nope. Scales text, here it is. Sorry guys, give me a second. Okay, there we go. So for those who could not see it before, you can now see it. The date just closed on Honda, and look at that. I'm not a big fan of how tight this actually looks right now, but you know what? That's okay. I do want to just show. I don't. What's that? Properties. I don't like the fact it's showing on both sides. You know what I'm saying? There we go. That's so much better. Okay, now that we have everything set, so I actually needed to update my wedge. I knew for a fact that it needed an update, and I've just actually been holding back on doing that only because I really didn't want to, because it's just such a mess to restart all these things all over again. But now that we can get a better idea of how things progress along, right? So the first major thing I want to talk about here is this. So look here. So this is the past couple of days. This was when we first started actually live streaming these things, when we started to see that big push, right? So we can see here that big push here. It touched the wedge, which at the time actually was at 1.7. Look at that. Remember, do you guys remember that day? We hit that 1.70 point and came crashing down. Then the next day, the top was 1.6761. We hit it and came crashing down. Now, yesterday, which was actually the day that I was saying to you guys, hey guys, look, we're probably looking to consolidate a lot here, not necessarily looking to run at all. And that's exactly what happened, right? This one day, this was the only exception to that rule where we didn't run. Instead, what happened was we just we came fairly close, sure, but we didn't actually hit it of any sort, and then we closed up. And this is really good to see. Why? Because let's jump over to the MACD here, just to give you guys better understanding of how things are progressing along. Where's my lines? Oh, this is just volume. I don't even have my indicator. See, that's how change interval. I need my. Okay, so let's first find where we're looking. Here it is. And to those of you guys just joining, I was just referring to how things are coming along really with everything, especially the close that just happened, and the past couple of days and how that's looked. I'm gonna go over in a second, but I just want to have a quick look at where the MACD is looking. I don't need this right now, so this is unnecessary. Volume is fine. Here it is. Let's have a look. I don't like the fact it's lines. It's disgusting. Let's see if we can edit that. Where is the option? It's up here. Sorry about that. Here it is. Style histogram. No, we want. I only like columns here. Don't like the fact it's red. It's so dark red. But you know what? Let's change this to green. Okay, there we go. All right, now that we're back, let's have a quick look at how things are developing along. So the big point here was this insane attempt that we had a couple days ago. Yes, it did touch. Oh, this is disgusting. So yeah, yes, it did touch the point, came crashing down, and we had a lot of momentum absorbed. Right, you can actually see that, by the way, in our MACD too. So let's just expand the MACD a little bit. So we can actually see. So this was that exact day. So because of how hard we hit the wedge there, we had to absorb and actually went back negative, which wasn't what we wanted to see. And it's why I said the next day we're going to be trading sideways. And look at what happened the next day. So at no point once more did we touch the wedge. We just didn't. We could not touch anymore just because of how much momentum we had lost. So that was a good thing. We didn't want to touch anymore because if we touched it one more time, we were expecting to come crashing down. So instead, look, we closed, and now the MACD has gone from. I cannot see the values here. Precision, we need 8. So over here, which by the way, if you can see it, I hope you can see it. I hope these values are more clear. Let's format. Let's see if we can find largest size. That's scales text. Scales. I actually want EST. I think UTC plus there it is. Okay, cool. So we have everything that we want to see. I still don't expect it's a little small, but honestly, as long as you can see the price point, that's really what matters here. So let's just keep going with it, yeah? So main thing we want to look at right now is the fact we're actually pushing upward. And this is the first time we're technically opening right on this wedge, which is insane. Look at that. So the MACD here 3 days ago was a negative 103. Then we pushed up to negative 89, so about 14-point difference. And then we're currently at, and keep in mind, so this one had an increase of 1.18%. So an increase of 1.18% had a 14-point up, right? 89 to 103, 14-point up. Here, despite being down about 0.09%, we're already at 14 points up. Now this is massive because what that means is we're going to see a massive push upward. So here's our goal for the next day, by the way. This is what we want to see. So as we know, to see this wedge completely break apart, we need to ensure that one, we have 2 candles that close above wedge. At the moment, we have one starting off there with a very, very solid indicator. So it looks like it doesn't look like we'll be able to run, at least not just yet, because we still need these 2 candles to be pushing positive. To everybody just joining, I was just we were just updating on how we just closed and where we're currently opening at. So just to quickly refresh that, by the way, we're opening on wedge, which is huge. One, not only is that massive because it means that we have this opportunity. So let's just zoom in here to really show you. We're above a resistance. So we're now currently hitting that support, and we're on wedge. Wedge for today is, you'll be able to have a better look at this on the daily, which we'll have on the hourly, which we'll have a look at in a moment. But currently sitting at 16246. So we're currently sitting at a price point of 16221. So we've just fallen just below it. That's absolutely fine because the main thing here is the MACD is now pushed upward to about 14 points up. This is huge. This is huge because this means we have momentum and we're already on wedge. So we've now tackled this wedge, by the way, 2 times. So in the past 3 days, we've hit this wedge 2 times. And how the wedge works is it's a line of ultimate defense or a line of ultimate support. So over here, this is a line of ultimate support, by the way. Up here is a line of ultimate defense. So what happens is every single time you hit a wedge, the wedge absorbs that momentum that you hit it with. That's why we saw here, we hit the wedge, got our momentum absorbed, came back down. Here, hit the wedge, got our momentum absorbed, came back down. So knowing that, you would think that, okay, what's the point? Well, when the wedge absorbs your momentum, it also causes it to weaken. So the more you test the wedge, and usually it's about 2 to 3 times, but the more you test the wedge, the easier it becomes to break it. So let's have a quick look at so these are the MA resistance points. I want to have a quick look and see where our current EMA resistance points are, because it's slightly different on it. And I mentioned before that I prefer EMA versus MA. So here we are. Okay, so this is on the daily here. And we can see on the EMA, it is slightly different compared to the MA because we can see on the MA here, it looked like we closed above, but on the EMA, we're actually just below it. So the EMA resistance point is at 16276, 16346, 16436, and 16803. This is really solid because what this means is this next day, we're actually expecting to push up to the 16435, and we're going to test that resistance. It's going to be similar to this orange line you see here. Orange line sits at 16487. We're going to test that point. Let me just expand this really quickly so you can actually see that here. 8, 8, 8. So what are we expecting? We're expecting a minimum actually in about 24 hours to close above 16274. That's huge. That's huge because that pushes us well above the wedge. And that's at least that's just so far looking at the daily here, right? So we have resistance at 16435. Our momentum is only just starting out, so it's not necessarily guaranteed we're going to close above it, but it is guaranteed we're going to hit it. So we're guaranteed set to hit that 16435, 164, like this exact resistance point. You're guaranteed to hit this. When we hit this, if we don't break, that's fine. As long as we close above the 16275, we're set. Because that now puts us at a support above wedge. So that's everything on the daily. Let's flip over to the 8-hour here because it's always a fun one to look at and see how things are progressing. So we can see here, this is, which by the way, this is fairly important, right? So one, look at that once more for a second time now. We're seeing this in more and more candles, by the way. For a second time now, we have closed, or we have started to open above wedge line. So wedge line on the 8-hour is actually sitting at 16175. Where are we currently? Well, guys, 16196. So we can kind of see it trying to pull us down, right? And it's expected to try to pull us down because why wouldn't it? This is the ultimate wedge we're talking about here. But 8 hours and daily candles are big. They're much, much bigger than hourlies. Hourlies can break and we can still come down. But if 8 hours start to break and if dailies start to break, you can start to see a run really form. So let's have a quick look at the MACD going on the 8-hour and see, do we have the momentum to keep running? Here I don't like the fact it's like so far apart. Okay, here we are. So this is the 8-hour on it, and we can see here, this was at 3 a.m. earlier today. It was sitting at a MACD of about, well, basically flat zero, right? And then we wanted 12 points. That was this big run up that we saw here, about 6 to 9% up. And that slightly slowed down our momentum. So from here, if this was 12 points, we're coming at 6 points up, down 0.33%. So it's looking, well, let's first look over here at our RSI and KDJ. So our RSI and KDJ, by the way, I don't have it on the screen because it becomes way too cluttered anyway. If you want, you can pull it up on your phone or you can have it on your own chart showing. But the RSI is heading slightly negative, actually strongly negative. The KDJ is flat. So indicating to us we're likely looking to probably find another bottom, to be honest. Like this was it was almost a short-lived kind of 8-hour run here, which is a little disappointing. Not exactly what we wanted to see, to be honest. It just means that we're looking to kind of, so one, on the 8-hour, let me actually first zoom in on this here. We've closed above these resistance points, right? So our supports now are at 16191 and 16221. So what we're at least looking to see is this candle by 3 a.m. We're looking to pull back up above 1622, which falls in line with what we were saying earlier, that on the daily we're expecting to break 16274. So when this pulls back in 8 hours above 1622, what's going to happen is that's going to slow down the negative momentum that's been on the 8-hour. When you slow down the negative momentum that's kind of starting to build, you're going to get ready for another run. So we're not going to necessarily test the 164 range in the next 8 hours. Maybe not even the next 16 hours. Instead, what I'm expecting to happen is by 11 a.m. tomorrow morning Eastern Standard Time, that is when we're going to start to see a push upward. So we're going to push upward to that 164 range I was talking about earlier. And it's also showing how we're still kind of consolidating while pushing slightly up. So that's where the 8-hour sits. Let's have a quick look at the hourly here. I don't know where the wedge went. I never like how that disappears sometimes. Just look at how flat it's been, right? Like I know, like this is, and before people were like, oh well, no, it's. Let's get this out of the way here. So here it is. Now let's pull back in. This is the 8, and back to the 1. There it is. Okay, so the hourly is always a favorite of mine to have a look at. Well, that's the 5-minute, as you probably know. Excuse me. So here we are in the hourly, and we can see here. I do want to show this, but I'll talk about that in a second. Which, by the way, I haven't talked about the wedge very much, so I do want to update on that. So we can see here. Look at that. So our supports one. Even if we're talking about the MA, the moving averages here, it's starting to push above the wedge in itself. So currently on the hourly, the wedge has actually come down quite a fair bit to 16177. So we can see here why we would start to be coming down, right? So we kind of saw it start to take effect in the 8-hour, and we're definitely starting to see it take effect in the 1-hour. Now, knowing how the 8-hour has its supports in 8 hours, despite this coming down, we're gonna start to see this reverse, and we can probably find that here on the hourly, to be honest. So look here on the hourly. Let's zoom in a whole lot more because it's not nice to see. So the hourly peaked. It's the green bar here or the blue one, depending on how you want to look at it. But so then the hourly went from 28 points positive to 24 points, about a 4-point difference, down to 21 points, about a 3-point difference, and boom, this is the current hour that we're sitting at. This is the current big drop we're seeing, right? That 21 to about 7 points. That's only a 7-point actual difference. That's not that huge. And in fact, what we're likely going to start to see pretty quickly is we're going to see this likely level out in 1 to 2 candles. Why can I say that? Well, just look at our supports. So our current supports for the hourly are at 16192, 162, and 16221. You can kind of see what's happening, right? Look at where we are, 16197. Look at what happened. Let's zoom in here. Look at that bottom. It was at 16192 exactly. So we tested that support once and then bounced back up. Now, for sure, what we're expecting to happen, by the way, is this hour we may close between 1619 to 162, but then from there we're going to lose these supports. There's nothing wrong with that. Do not panic if we do lose the supports. That's completely okay to see happen. And then, of course, our next support on it is the bull band. Did I have the bull? I don't have the bull going. I really didn't have any indicators. So let's pull up Bollinger Bands. Okay. So I don't like when it gets all clustered like that. It becomes too much for me. I'm not a big fan of that. Which is usually why I just talk about the moving averages on my phone. I'm gonna stick to that, by the way, because I know a lot of people like having so much. It's just not my thing. I like to have it clean. I like to have an easy look going. So we can see here. There it is. There is our next big support. So while we have the 16192 and the 16221 on the EMAs, we also have our median band right here. And that's currently sitting at 16169. So likely what we're looking to see happen is, again, mentioned, in the next 41 minutes, we're going to close above the 16192, probably between the 16192 to the 16222. Then from there, that next hour, we still have this negative momentum and it's still kind of going here. So we're going to come down and test this median band of support. That's probably going to push up to about 16172. So the fact we have all these supports is going to slow down this negative momentum like no tomorrow. In fact, it's probably going to kill it. So we're probably at most looking to bottom out. So that's going to be 1, 2, at 2 candles. So over here, we're probably going to come to test this wedge again as it tries to pull us back in. So in about 2 to 3 candles, we're going to look to bottom out around 1615. Maybe at most see the what is the value I'm thinking of here? Just gotta pull it. Yeah, maybe at most see the bottom of this Bollinger Band, which currently sits at 16030. So everything, let's just show it here. Everything here is supporting a 1.6 plus, by the way, especially for the next few hours. As we get ready to push back upward, it's fine for us to come down. Do not worry about that. The run is still well and alive. So with all of that, I do now want to talk about the wedge and how that's updated a little bit because I needed to update it. By the way, I've been avoiding wanting to update it because it's just not fun to do, but I have been needing to update it. So here we are. Let's just make the scale for this really quick. By the way, what's the price out? Exactly 16192. Where was our support at? 16192. Like I've been telling you guys, we have that, but we're testing it again and again and again, right? And that's the key thing in this. The more we test it, the more we're going to come down. So let's first talk on the hourly, the bar going forward here. It's 93 bars. So about 90. Sorry, it's time for the time, so I'm going to be right back. Hey guys, so welcome back. There was one thing that I did want to update on, which was the wedge in itself. So I was saying this earlier. I needed to redraw the wedge and actually make it more accurate than it was before because I didn't have it as accurate as I would have liked. So with that being said, this is far more accurate in terms of how it's supposed to be, which is also showing, which I think is what we kind of expected. It aligns up, by the way, with the Binance burn, right? Looking at it on the hourly method, there's 93 bars left on the hourly, so roughly 3 days, 21 hours. But where would that put it? Where would that put us? That would put us exactly March 1st into March 2nd. What do we know is happening then? The burn. So as well as like the complete update, the maintenance, and all those other things, all these things are coming live at the same time as we're coming to the end of this chart. So we know for a fact that there are positive things happening as we're going to run. Which, by the way, it's currently 7:35, so there is about 25 minutes till the day can till the hourly closes, and we can start to see after testing the support multiple times at this point, we're starting to fall under. Right, like a 16183, we know our supports are at 16192 and it's been holding us up, but we know we had to come down under, so that's just kind of what's happening here. Let's kind of jump over to the 30-minute to see how that's progressing along, because 30-minute just closed, right? It's 7:35. So 30-minute, you can't exactly see a thing with it. We don't really need to see a thing. We can't exactly see the wedge with it. I don't really need to see it right now. What we're really trying to see here is how is the momentum on 30-minute coming along. So let's just zoom out here. We can see here it opened. Well, one, look, we lost the main band of support here at 16211, right? So that half an hour had us lose that. And we can see here we've now opened at 16175. So looking over here at the MACD, went from 1 point to about 0. That was when we were like kind of flatlining here, going from that top peak to the bottom, to now -6 to -10. So we can see this actually start to slow down, which is really nice to see. Probably in about 25 to 24 minutes, we're going to see that bottom out. As you can also see, by the way, here, look, this is our lower band of support at 16065. It is starting to slightly come up too. So everything is aligning up for us to hold that 161 plus. As we're getting ready to also push back upward. So that won't happen though for another minimum 25 minutes, possibly 55 minutes, give or take. Then, of course, let's see how the 15-minute is developing also, just to see how that's looking like. And we can see here, this is really cool to see, by the way. We can see here this negative momentum on the 15-minute is slowing down to a crawl. Why? Because it touched our line of support. And you can see this multiple times, by the way. You can see it here. You touch our line of support, you're going to bounce off. You touch our line of support, you're going to bounce off. So we can see the MACD from -12 to -12 to -15 to currently 16, about 1 point down on it. So as I was saying here on the 15-minute, it's looking very strong in terms of a bounce back. Oh, hey Slug, glad you could make it. I don't know how much of everything that you've heard, or if you have heard anything, but I was just quickly updating here on the bounce back that's impending. So we have been going negative since the day closed, right? That was about 39 minutes ago, and it looks like it's getting ready to flip in about either 21 minutes to 51 minutes, which is really really good to see. So we can see here on the 15-minute, it's definitely starting to bottom out. It already hit our bottom line of support, right? So that's guaranteeing us the fact we're going to bounce upward, and that's exactly what's happening. Then, of course, we're at 7:39, so this closed in about 6 minutes, meaning the 5 minutes is actually just about to close. Oh, actually, before I keep going, Slug, how have you been? Are things going well on your end? Just work, but listening in when I can. Good question though. Yes, yes, please ask away. And of course, don't mind the latency of it. You'll hear my response again, 30 to probably a minute later. I'm glad you're good. The 5 minute has yet to bottom out, actually. Slowly. So the 5 minute did just close. I believe, yeah, this just opened up. So over here, that was when we were flatlining. It looked like we may have had some positive momentum going, but instead, it is still pushing just a little bit more downward. So we may be looking to come test it again as we push back up. And there is the test for those who can't see it. Just zoom in on that. Tested it, came back up. Right. That's kind of how that goes. The up is not as high as we would want to see it at, which is the kind of down point of all this. So, right here, the wedge. Okay, so the question was the wedge lines. Where do you see this resistance? Same as the bands. You can see on buys with sell order some idea of what walls are being hit, but how do you see where the resistance with bands? Okay, so a very good question on it. The wedge lines in itself are more so of an arbitrary psychological line. So like exactly how we have indicators, the wedges are its own indicator. So it's not something that you would see with bands or anything like that. No, instead it's a self-made one that you have to draw, and that's why there's that plus or minus 10% inaccuracy with it. Oh, but more. Oh, okay, okay, okay. So like, what the lines themselves represent is similar to what the Bollinger Bands actually represent. So then the wedge lines represent the absolute resistance and the absolute support. So it's the overall psychological mentality behind this coin that the majority feeling is the coin will not fall. The coin will not fall below this line. The coin will not fall below this line. Or the coin will not go above this line because you have that buy sell kind of parameter made. So in a lot of cases, what happens is whenever you're trading, whether it's stocks, whether it's crypto, whatever it really is, you're gonna have algorithms put in place that look to buy and sell at plus or minus 10%, depending on the volatility of the coin. That plus or minus 10% creates this boundary that it lives off. So then when you have a massive run up like we did see back in September, that expands that boundary wildly. So now all of a sudden that upper band of resistance, also known as the sell point, starts off really, really high, and then you work with the lowest point, which is the support, as everyone expects it to never fall below that point. So then these two things come together as these absolutes. So when you break absolutes in such a way that you do, so if it is psychological, how do we know if it will run if the wedge is broken? That's exactly what I'm getting to. So when you break these wedges like the way that you do, it breaks the mindset of where these coins fit in, and that causes one massive buy-ins. That's why you always see when a wedge breaks, you see massive volumes coming in because the psychological mentality of it is if it's able to break the absolute like that, then it's able to go beyond what we were expecting. And that's usually how you work with wedges. Wedges are purely psychological, and it follows the human mentality of how something works. That, oh, it's crashing. I'm gonna short, it's gonna come down. So then that plays the second part, right? So when you're shorting, you're also expecting it, like most that line is for a lot of people the point of liquidation. So when you cross that line, all of a sudden when it closes, you're seeing a whole lot of people start to be forced bought in or forced liquidated. So that also causes a run up. So there's all these other factors that come into play when we're talking about a wedge and when we're talking about those psychological lines. I hope that clears it up somewhat. So breaking wedge after this is people power. So yeah, exactly, because like part of it is that, and the other aspect of it is where you sit with it, right? So like when you come to the end of a wedge, you need to look at the fundamentals of the coin to understand where that mentality is. So a lot of the times every single falling wedge has that buildup of shorts, has that buildup of negativity, but its underlying fundamentals are genuinely actually strong. So in our case, it lines up really well with the fact that we're about to have the Binance burn come up again after so long, right? That is a massive, massive push in mentality, as not as the burn itself isn't that big of an issue, but the fact is we're progressing forward once more after so long. So that in itself, more of it is being forced to close. Yeah, exactly. So like there, there's a lot of underlying things with it, but you need the fundamentals to set up a push upward, and you need a long falling wedge to set up shorts. The more a coin falls, the more the shorts that are built up, the more you're gonna have liquidations, which is the more you're gonna have these run ups. So everything kind of builds towards this massive break versus a gradual natural push up. And with that being said, I think it hit. Yeah, exactly. So like at 7:45, you weren't exactly here for this, but for the 15-minute, we're expecting 7:45 to start to flip positive. Exactly at 7:46 now p.m. Like again, that's my time. But at 7:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it pushed back up to 16184. As we're seeing the reverse occur on the 5-minute, just gonna quickly switch over to the 15. I know you're at work, so you're probably not seeing the chart itself. You may just be listening in. So I'll just, I opened it up right just now. So here is the 15-minute candle looking at it. And we can see here it did bottom out on that. That's really, really good to see as it's pushing upward. Now, of course, the 15-minute is going to have its own set of resistances. So these sets of resistances, we're going to have a quick look at that. I did have it on the screen. If you go back earlier in the stream, I had it there. I just didn't like it there because it just became so cluttered. So just to point out the 15-minute res and how long it's really going to take for us to get back to that 162 range. Well, so pushing up. On my phone it hasn't updated yet, which is okay. But okay, so the resistance points right now are sitting around 1688, exactly where we are, 16212 and 16221. So as we thought, that resistance is going to hold us back from pushing back into the 2 for the moment. We actually already tested it very, very quickly in. So we can see here 16888, the resistance is exactly at this point. So I'm seeing current pressure on Binance charts 16252, on yours sequential 16180. It may be a delay on it, possibly. It may also just be like a slight price difference, but realistically, if we're thinking about it, right, that's a 0.00001 difference, and even that, the difference is actually 0.0000007. So, and it's hard to say which of the two is actually more correct on it, right? Because it's dynamic, it's live. All in all, though, as long as you see within a 0.00002 range, it's all the same. Because you're going to see the same fundamentals take place, the same actions take place. So not a big issue really. So 15-minute pushing upward, fantastic to see. It hit the wedge and then came back down. That was expected. Sorry, not the wedge. It hit the resistance, came back down. That was exactly expected. Now, of course, hitting that did absorb our momentum, and we're kind of starting to see that as we come back down to 16168. Is that ideal? Not terrible. And it's not really the worst thing either. It's not good or bad, really, because if we look here, the MACD currently is at 1717 flat while we're still holding positive. So we're definitely looking to still push back upward. And we can see that in our 5 minute. And that's why we were looking at the 5 minute earlier, too, right? Because we know for a fact the 5 minute had started to flip. So it's currently 7:49, and the 5 minute is about to close in 1 minute. And we can see, as we thought, here it is. The 5 minute is still pushing upward, which is fantastic to see, by the way, because this means in 1 minute we're going to test again that resistance point. Do I expect us to break it though? Not really. And there's the close on the 5, and here we are back at 16174, and we're going to see a bit of a higher push up in 3, 2, 1. I don't have actual timer clock to say when it's okay. There we go. Has the candle started? Has the candle started? There. Yep. Okay. So it just started. So now we can see the MACD is starting to accelerate in its pace upward, going from 8 to 6. This is probably going to be a little higher than that, likely 4 or 3, and that'll push us back up to try once more before the hourly close. Now, the hourly close, we have our supports, by the way. I mentioned this a while back, but our hourly supports right now are at 16222 and 1692. So those two supports, even if you didn't see the 15 minute, the 5 minute, the half an hour, even if you didn't see those things, you would know because of those supports, we were going to get pulled back up. That's the mentality of how it works. The bigger candles with their supports, with their resistances, are going to affect every other thing when it comes to the close of it. So we're going to start to come back up, and we should start to see that. I don't know why this is negative right now. So I'm really hoping to see this pushes back up. But then again, of course, the 5 minute has its own resistance points. That may be playing a factor here because it looks like we hit something and came down. So let's just look at that really quickly because I'm curious. What was it that we hit? Why are we coming down? I don't like that. We saw a pattern. Oh, yeah. Okay, so exactly as we thought. So over here, on this one, so this was about, well, now it's like 2 minutes ago, but we hit at that point a peak of about 16174, but the resistance line was at 16172. So what happened? We came below it, right? We closed at 16165. So we came exactly below it. Then here, once more, we tested that resistance point, and boom, we're coming back down. Sometimes I'm really not a fan of resistance points because resistances are always harder to break than supports. And it doesn't ever make sense to me why that is. It really frustrates me, to be honest. I'm sure it frustrates everybody, but specifically me because I'm always watching them like, why? Why? You should be balanced. But no, refuses to be. So the 5 minute still has about 3 minutes left. We can kind of tell if it's going to be able to break through just looking at the minute candle here as we just keep pushing smaller and smaller. But yeah, do you see this gap down that occurred? That's what screwed us over really. But the minute is still slowing down on it, so we're gonna actually test. There we go. We're going to test that resistance right now as we're getting ready to flip it. Meaning, in 2 minutes, we're going to be able to beat that resistance. Falling in line with that hourly that I mentioned once more. Coming back to it, there's 7 minutes left on the hourly. Coming back to beating that 169 that we had our support for. So everything follows this very systematic pattern. Even when it looks like it doesn't, it still actually does. And whether you argue if that's because it's all controlled by algorithms or if it's by controlled by human mentality, the end point of it is that you can predict these things, at least to a certain degree, right? I cannot say for certainty every single time, but in most cases I can say, hey, this is happening because of this. So the minute just closed is a massive candle upward. We're kind of starting to see that push up now. So this candle should be able to keep pushing upward. The resistance is on the minute. I think we've flipped at this point, actually. Let's just have a quick look here. Wow, yeah, exactly that. So on the minute candle, by the way, the resistance was at 16170 and 16170 twice. So the next resistance actually is right here at 1676. So yeah, you can see it. We hit it and came back down. But we still have some positive momentum on the minute candle, so we should kind of expect to see a close around 16172 to 16176. And that will set us up for the 5 minute, leading us into the hourly close. So hopefully now let's check back in at the 5 minute. And there it is. We're starting to see this pushback upward, which is fantastic to see. If you recall earlier, the 5 minute resistance points were at 16175 and 16187. Where were we exactly? 16174. So you can see it's still impacting us. But this time, unlike last time, we have more momentum going forward. So the next and the final 5 minutes, we're looking to push past that and probably approach that 16187 to 16192 range. I'm hoping. I'm really hoping. There it is. There's the close. And there it is. There's the push up. Just to confirm, we closed at 16174, so we did close below the res. But we've pushed on it enough times that we've weakened this resistance point. And I'm expecting we'll come on 1618 range. We can hit the 1618 range. I know we can hit the 1618 range. We aren't this weak, you know what I'm saying? Maybe we are this week. We're kind of just holding at 16178. So boom. We may actually be that week. I don't think that boom is actually a sustainable boom, by the way, but jumping over to the minute here, let's see how badly damaged we were. We got hit. We got hit. We should still be able to recover this, to be honest. Yeah, this is too hard of a hit. We have our support at 16168. We need to recover this. Otherwise, if this candle closes, we're going to start to go, whoop. That's not what I wanted to see. That's not what you wanted to see. I don't even know if you're seeing it, but we didn't want to see this. There it is. Okay, and we're back on top. So the gap down that was displaced here was paid back in here, and now we're at 16176. There's at 1618. Now the upper band of resistance right now for the minute is at 16187. So that's kind of telling us that's probably where we're gonna cap at the most. Not gonna be able to break that. There's just no way we can, especially given the fact there's only 3 minutes here. We may touch it, but once we touch that point, well, we're kind of meant to come down. Come on, push up, push up, push up, push up, push up. Are you gonna push? Are you gonna push? We still have 3 minutes left, guys. 3 minutes. It's a long time. Let me tell you that. I mean, technically, it's not really a long time, but when you're staying at a candle, it's definitely a long time. Okay, 2 minutes. It held at 16180. Complete trade sideways on it, which if we wanted to, we could get the. It's right here, really. We could look at over here at the order book to see exactly how that's progressing along, but it's just not entirely necessary to do so. The recent trades at 16180 here. So with 2 minutes left now, the minute did definitely peak out. It could not break the resistance that was set for it at 16182, which is very disappointing, especially for me here. But whoa, we got a second gap up. That is wild. You don't usually see two back-to-back gap ups unless like there's something massive that happened earlier. I guess we saw a couple gap downs, but what are the numbers in the MACD section 1226 close? Are these hours? The 1226. Oh, are you referring to the MACD scale on the right, or are you referring to the colored scale on the left? Just to get a better idea of what you're asking. By the way, with 1 minute left, there it is. We were expecting the hourlies to come back to that 16188 to the 16192 plus range, and currently, exactly with less than 60 seconds left, 16188. No way. Okay, so it's actually 8 on left of screen. Oh, the 1226 closed 9. Okay, so let's actually talk about this. So the MACD actually works as a moving average, right? So like specifically, I can't remember the exact acronym. I think the moving average something uh, deviation point. So then the way that the MACD works is depending on which candle that you're working at, it takes the average of the past set here. So then it will take 1 for the 12, 1 for the 26, and then look at that as it lines it up, given the 3 points here. So then each of these represent the current movement of it against itself over a longer period. So here you'll have the 12, which is a shorter one. Then you'll have the 26. So the 12 is more susceptible to change versus the 26 because the 26 takes a longer amount of candles. Thank you. The cross divergence. Yes, that is exactly what it is. So yeah, so then the 12 here will focus on the shorter amount of candles here. The 26 could focus on the longer, which gives you the 2 points here, and then of course the cross divergence given on it. So that difference of the two is what gives us how much positive or how much negativity it is. So that's 1, 2, 3. There's not too much there. I mean, you can change this, by the way, if you want. If you want longer MACDs, which actually give more accurate readings here. I don't know if KuCoin specifically allows you to change it. I do know, like I've used a couple of different charts that have allowed me for much longer. Like I prefer, for example, the 200 moving average one is a really nice one I know a lot of people use, which is usually meant for golden crosses. In my case, if I'm looking at a minute candle, if I'm looking at day candles, the shorter it is, the better, because then I'm only looking within a span of a week to 2 weeks, right? So the outlook I prefer to see is what's our immediate change. But if we're asking about the 9, that's the 9. I have no clue. I can tell you for sure the 12th to the 26th, but I have no clue what the 9 is. If you know what the 9 is, that would be great to let me know. Because it's yeah. Okay. Nice. So we both have no clue what the 9 is, which I don't think really impacts too much, because as long as we understand which of the two it's using to be able to confirm the divergence crosses, that's fine. Now, the hourly did just close, and it closed exactly where we expected it to close, which does mean, unless I'm incorrect, yes, it does mean we're going to lose our supports now. So what we wanted to see was we wanted to come back up to that 16188 point to be able to confirm that we were able to slow this negative momentum down. Because if we close around 1616 or 1615 like it was dropping down towards, we would have a harder drop. We didn't want to see that. We wanted to ensure our supports could help us out just enough to slow it down. So here it was. We were at 7 p.m. So the start of the day candle here. We were at 21 points. It dropped down to 13 points, about an 8-point difference, and now we're currently at 6. As you can see, that 1618 close was a huge impact, right? It's only now 7-point difference, so it slowed it down massively. Now we do have one more support, or actually I think 2 more supports going here that is going to really help us out for this next hour, and it's going to start to allow this hour to flip over in likely 57 minutes to about an hour. We're going to see that flip to the opposite direction. So first, let's look at the median band, and where that main support is currently at 16174. So keep in mind throughout the hour that 16174 is going to help us out a lot. But before it can help us out, it's going to need some help from another support. And that comes from the EMA 30. The EMA 30 currently, I think it's the EMA 30, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So it is the EMA 30, and well, poopy pants. Okay. So the EMA 30, which was what I was kind of banking on to help us out to slow it down even further, along with the median band, is at 16188. We closed. So yeah, we closed at 16187. So we were 1 point under, meaning it's not the support that we wanted to see. It's actually, it's actually resistance. Really sad to see that. It does mean the median band is on its own here as it's going to fight that off. But the fact that we did slow it down is going to mean it's going to bottom out at most at 1612. I don't even expect it to actually go that far low. Let's see what low it did hit here. A low 16. Yeah, exactly that. So like the low was 16154. That immediately occurred. Now because of this support, you can see we're coming back to it, right? The support we had at 16174, where we now 16173. So the median band is going to be working alone on this for the next hour as it acts to slow this down. We're likely looking to close between 1615 to the 16175 range for the next hour, regardless of how all the other candles go. You'll see this come back to this point. Once we do come back to this point, if we close on 1615, then we're definitely going to look to flip in an additional. Well, actually, yeah. Like regardless, I think we're going to start to look to flip by about 10 p.m. So an hour 55 minutes. The only way we will look to flip in about 55 minutes is if we close at a really solid number here. So given the fact it's 6 points, we want this to go up to 8. If this comes up to 8, which is the equivalent of 16175, 16178 range, then here it is. You'll see it, right? Oh no, even 16178 is not high enough. So probably 1618. 178 almost. It's getting close on the differences. Come on, you can push this. Just to give you an idea, if we can push up to that 8 point range, then we're likely looking to flip in 55 minutes. Otherwise, it's going to be an hour 55, and we'll bottom out in the next candle. We'll see here again that 1614 to 1612. Which, by the way, because we're looking at the hourlies here, let's talk about this wedge, right? So the wedge currently is at 16167. So keep in mind, it's going to do everything it can to pull us back into that range. And the next hour following that is at 16155. Where did we think we were going to bottom out in the next hour? 1614, within that range. So you see how that psychology, even without seeing the wedge, the psychology of it kind of just affected even how I saw the outlook. I didn't know where it was, but my prediction put us within that wedge point. Which is kind of scary to think that no matter what you think, no matter what you do, you fall in line with this algorithmic pattern that predicts every single one of the collective mind's thoughts. like I think that's pretty scary, but maybe it's just me. Crossover. Of course, now's a good time to check back in on our 5 minute, because that's the first of the candles that, of course, gets to close. The 3 minute also closes. I just don't like the 3 minute. It's such a weird number. But okay. So here we can see the 5 minute is starting to slow down, right? It is actually massively slowing down at this point. I know it really is insane how well I can work like that. But given the fact this is slowing down, I mean, of course, this is only the start of the hour, so for sure we're going to start to look to go sideways on it. I think we've lost all our supports on the 5 minute too, right? That's going to impact things as well. Yeah, we did. So the supports, or I guess now resistances on the 5 minute is at 16173, 16181, and 16211. Which of course this kind of the EMA 30 aligns up a lot of times with the median band here. But that being said, we've lost those supports, so we're definitely starting to look back downward. We're gonna start to see we may see the 1612 again. We'll probably see around here 1612 range before we push back upward. So we won't start pushing back upward for the next half an hour or so. Is it crazy? No, not really. Is it an issue? Even less so. Because we know for a fact the hour is slowing down, meaning we still had to come down, but we don't need to panic about it because it's not going to be as bad. So just to give an idea that the hour here, the previous hour at least, had a massive drop, right? This had a drop of 0.42%, which is huge. This hour is looking to have much less of a drop. In fact, between likely 0.2 to 0.25% is the drop you're expecting to see. So currently sitting at 0.14. It's still a little high, so we'll see how it goes. But with that, I do have to head back to work myself. I'm going to leave this open for a little bit, and hopefully I'll get to come back to it. But thanks for listening in, Slug. It's always such a pleasure to have you here. And yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. I know you yourself are at work, but given how close we are to the end of it all, like how can you not just be curious? This is on the hour. I've got you as always. I'm sorry I'm not as consistent as I really want to be. I wish I could be, but um, I'm just really glad that like I can. So and look at that movement on the minute, by the way. This is a massive gap up. Like look at that. This was insane in the way it gapped up because it like it doesn't make any sense if you look at the candle here. But that worked out really well in our favor as it's going to flip the 5 minute earlier than expected. Although nothing really too unexpected here. So extremely curious. I've been sat in this since the day of the huge crash. I would like to follow it to the bottom and buy in. I also had a bit of a similar thing. I bought in a little higher than I wanted to, but I've been DCAing quite a bit, or trying to at least. I mean, I stopped. I stopped quite some time ago because I just couldn't afford it. But I'm the same. So yes, what was the curiosity part of this? Do want to have a quick look and see the half an hour and see if we can. And damn, that the half an hour just makes it look insane. But okay, so the half an hour we know we saw that massive drop here. Since then we've kind of been trailing downward. 6, 9, 11 going forward on it. The difference has been dropping drastically, which is fantastic to see. Meaning in the next half an hour, we may actually start to see a push back upward, which would be huge because that means the hour is starting earlier than expected, right? We were thinking maybe 48 minutes to the following hour, but given how the half an hour is starting to turn out fairly well positive, you can actually see it here. Even if we just look at the lines, sometimes it's just nice to look at the lines here. You can see on the half an hour that kind of starting to level out here. Maybe suffering a bit of a negative momentum here, but definitely starting to see some signs that this may start to flip sooner than expected. 9, 13. Yeah, yeah. It'll still take a little bit. There's nothing here for you. It's not here. I already said it.
It's not downstairs. It's not upstairs either. So then where is it?
Get out. I just told you it's not here.
Okay.
Oh, right, right. You were saying extremely curious in terms of what I previously had said. Of like, how can you not? Duh. I'm so slow. My apologies. I appreciate your time. I got to balance. We'll keep sound on just in case. Yes. I will also try and tune back in, especially in the hourlies, because I really want to see how that's developing along. But for now, I'm just gonna keep it to the minute because the minute's always easy to follow. So let's just get that going. I'll see you soon, yeah, man. Good luck at work. Hopefully, it's not as dreadful as mine's gonna be. Okay, that's that. No bad, no bad. While it was still unexpected, I kind of still found line. You know, negative momentum fairly strong on this actually. Hey guys, welcome back. So for those who are just tuning in, we are coming up to the hourly close. The hourly close is actually starting to reverse much sooner than expected. Like I was actually thinking that probably maybe in another hour versus the 11 minutes that we're starting to see. So you can see here, this is the minute candle by the way. I think it's the minute candle, right? Just to make sure, is this the minute? No, yes, the 15 minutes actually pushing really strong upward. We do have the median band here at 16231, and that's going to hold us down at least for this candle. The next candle we're likely looking to push past it, but keep in mind the upper band of resistance right now is at 16330. So that's going to hold us down for the foreseeable future, at least for the next 45 minutes. So let's go over to the hourly because that's what we're all excited for. In 11 minutes, it does close. And we can see here, so this is the wedge, by the way. For those who are unaware, here is the wedge. It's currently sitting at 16168. We are sitting strongly above it. But of course, the important, like, yes, the hourly matters in terms of staying above, but it's not the biggest thing. What's more important for the wedge is to break on the 8 hour and the daily. So the 1 hour here, we can see this was at about 7 p.m. Sorry, this was 7 p.m. So when the day candle started, we were heading in the negative direction. It went previously from about 21 points negative down to about 13 points, so an 8-point difference, to currently 10. This is really good and showing very early signs of another reversal occurring. And we can see that even here as it's getting closer and closer to the divergence point. So what that means is likely for the next hour, so in about 10 minutes when we're going to start, we're going to start to see this push back up. Now, of course, keep in mind currently the upper bound of resistance is at 16308. So that's also telling us we're going to still hold between the 162 to the 163 range at least for the next hour minimum. Now, of course, this may start to change because we're going to have a bit of a push, right? So when this finally starts to reverse, it's not going to, it's like going to start to reverse the next candle. The next candle is going to be more flat. So it's going to be between 162 to 163, but it's going to be very flat. It's that following candle that you're going to start to see a push up. You may even see a 1635, maybe a 164, but then we're going to have to come down because we're not just there yet to run. And why are we there? Well, it's easy to see, actually. We can see it here on the 8-hour candle. So this is the 8-hour candle. Let's just zoom out a little bit here. So the 8-hour candle also is above, which is fantastic to see. It's a very good start. But this is the first candle. So if we just actually zoom out just a little bit, just to show you guys what I mean. This is the first 8-hour candle in entirety of history, LUNC history that is, that we're pushing above this wedge. This is strongly above and it's actually holding well above. So what that means is, so if we go here, well, this was 16 hours ago. We can see here it was at -0. Here 12 points up. Here 19 points up. So it's a 7-point up increase. It's not really that big of an increase, right? So actually, because of this resistance we have set at 16315, once more there's that 163 range, it's going to hold us down. So instead, what we're looking to do, even for the 8-hour point, which closes at 3 a.m. by the way, so that's still quite some time away, but we're going to have to hold between the 162 to the 163 range. So everything's just kind of pointing towards trading sideways, and then we'll see how that goes into the next candle. Likely this is going to start to reverse a little bit, but I'm expecting something like this to occur. Let's see if I can find it. Something like this to occur actually right here. So this was that beautiful run up we had to the 1-7 range where we pushed up, had that one trading, and then we start to run. Now this is likely what's actually going to happen, and we're kind of mimicking it very closely. So we're going to have this sideways of slightly down, and then we're going to start to run. What that tells us is also that means we're going to have this bit of a push up. This was what, 1.18%. We're going to have that 1.18% going into the close tomorrow. So this one is the equivalent of 11 a.m. tomorrow to the 7 p.m. close. And then once we close above this wedge for the daily, for the 8-hour, we're going to see the run. So we're coming very close now to the end of it all. So honestly, very exciting. Oops. Okay, guys, so we have 1 minute left until the hourly close. So let's have a quick look at that. I think we have the, yeah. So this is the hourly that we have. No, so sorry. I thought it was the hourly. It's actually not. Here is the hourly. So let's just pull that up. So here we are at 16236. Absolutely amazing. Why? Because look at how strongly we are holding. One, we've also ensured that our band of support is there now, right? It's at 16177. So it's strongly above the wedge, by the way, which is huge to see in itself. Now, that being said, we have 1 minute left. I even had an alarm for it. We have 1 minute left until close, and we're starting to push up very, very strong. So this negative momentum is actually getting ready to absolutely stop in its tracks pretty soon. So let's see for that 1 minute, and then we'll see what happens, and then we can go from there. But there it is. Okay, so now it's just opened up, meaning let's give it a second to see what the actual MACD negative here is. We can see here 13 points, 11 points, currently 9 points, a 2 point difference, right? And this is probably going to turn very, very positive soon. You can see we're running up to 16245. Huge, huge. It's a very, very early run, too, right? So let's let that 9 still. I'm expecting this to there it is. Okay. Yep. Yeah, so we were expecting a bit of a run up. We're kind of starting to see that run up actually occur live, which is awesome to see. So this negative momentum is just the beginning of this change, right? So we can see the upper band of support or resistance here is at 16318. That's going to start to push even higher upwards. So we're probably going to see 163, and 1635 in the next couple hours. We may even push 164, but don't get too excited just yet. We still have the 8-hour close coming up, which let's talk about the 8-hour close very quickly here. So here is the 8-hour. There's the 8-hour there. So we can see the 8-hour here, right? It is currently pushing about 9 points upward. So it's still not strong enough very much. So it's actually to actually be positive at the moment. And what's going to happen is we have this major resistance at 16317. This is going to absorb all of our momentum. So keep in mind, in terms of the 8-hour, while we're still above wedge, we don't want to hit the 163 just yet because we're going to lose everything. So that's a little worrying. We're actually probably going to see it. We're going to come back down. But the big thing is at 3 a.m. So when the next candle starts, it's going to be at 16092. It's going to be much, much lower as we start to head negative on the 8-hour. So I talked about this earlier, but this is looking very, very similar to this point right here, where we're going to push up, flatten out, see a bit of that negativity, and I think push back up. That's what I think is likely going to occur here, and it'd be very exciting to see that happen. It's just my current thought process and more so a hope and a feeling because I want to see us hold above this wedge, and I'm thinking we're getting very, very close to the run. See, this is it. This is how far away we are. Just put that into context here of how many candles that is. That at this point to down here, it's only about 12 bars. So if we're talking in 11 a.m. tomorrow, that's only about 10 bars away, right? Because then at 3 a.m. it's 11, and then at 11 a.m. it's 10 bars. So I think 10 bars is more than enough time to start a run, especially considering it's not going to be the official run really going forward. It's just going to be a bit of that push up that we really want to see as we go into the next day. Which, speaking of, I want to talk about the daily because that's also very important, right? I mentioned this a couple of times now, but I'm just going to reiterate it really quick. Over here, and this is important, look at where we're currently at. We are sitting exactly, ooh, that's disgusting. We're sitting exactly flat on the wedge. The wedge currently sits at 16256 to 16258. We're at 16257. So we are at that point where if we break upward, we may start to see an early run happen. And look at the daily here. This is important. The daily is at 103, 89, and currently 74. It is actually building up to have a run. So everything is pointing towards the run essentially starting in the next 22 hours. If we can hold this point, and I understand the 8 hours looking slightly negative, but if we can hold around this point, then we're looking to run. Now, some things that will hinder us is if we start this run early, we don't have enough momentum, and we hit this band of resistance. The 16667 is a very, very strong resistance point. You can see it here. Hit it, came down, hit it, came down. This all falls in along the wedge, by the way. But if we hit this and we hit it too early, we're going to come down. So ideally, for this next 22 hours, we don't want to see anything more than being able to close at 162. We close at 162 plus, and yes, there are indicators showing we have a strong momentum coming building up. The 8 hour is slightly negative, that's okay, but the rest of our indicators are pushing upward. This shows us we have a good chance of holding 162 plus. Our only goal is 162 plus. We're gonna see 163, by the way, especially in the next 16 hours. We're gonna see 163, maybe even 163.5. Don't panic if we come back down from that. Just always keep in mind 162 plus will be our goal. And now, just to also, I really want to add in the scale here because I think it's important to put into context of things, right? Like if we do come down, and it's not a bad thing, but if we do come down, we still have about 4 days. 4 days until everything comes to an end. That is on the daily that you can see here very clearly. Which, by the way, it doesn't come like it's like 4 days and something hours, but it's 152 at the very end here, right? So that's where we may come down. If we hit this, if we lose momentum and come down, don't panic about that. It just means we're gonna find our support and then get even more consolidated as we break upward. So we looked at the 8 hour, we've looked at the daily. I have talked about a little bit about the 1 hour here, but because it did just close once more, I'm going to finish off with talking about it again because I think it's fairly important. The 1 hour is starting to push back positive. Let's just expand this again. And look what's going on. On the hourly, where's the upper band of resistance? At the 16319. That's the exact point we were seeing at the 8 hour, right? So this point is a very, very strong resistance, and it's why I'm saying I don't want us to lose our momentum hitting this. I would rather see us comfortably sit in the 162.727 range for the next day. Will it happen? No. Why? Because one, the hourly is getting ready to push up. The 8 hours are getting ready to also see its final point. So all these things are adding up to kind of hitting a wall. It'll be okay. But I just want to give that update. Thanks for listening. I'm going to have this open for maybe another 15, 20 minutes. I'm just going to have it on the minute. I may choose to update again, but if anybody has any questions or comments, please let me know. I will be checking it. And yeah, you can see it even here, right? We're pushing up, hitting it, but we're losing. So this is on the minute, by the way, but let's just actually zoom that out a little bit. We're starting to lose that momentum on the positive. So as we approach, and we hit it kind of here, as we approach this 163, the momentum is going to start to die down.